In today's video, we journey back in time to uncover the secrets of the past. Welcome to a story written in the sands of history. 1. Introduction. Genghis Khan, born Temüjin, rose from the fractured, violent world of the Mongol steppe to forge the largest contiguous land empire in human history. His story is one of brutal warfare, political innovation, cultural synthesis, and a legacy that shaped Eurasia for centuries. This account traces his life, the mechanisms of his power, the vast military campaigns he commanded, his system of governance, his death and its secrecy, and the manifold, often contradictory ways posterity remembers him. 2. Origins and early life, circa 1162 to 1189. Temüjin was born into the Borjigin clan of the Mongols, son of Yesügei and Hö'elün. The exact year of his birth is disputed. Sources give dates ranging from 1155 to 1167, with 1162 commonly favored in Mongolia. His birth was enveloped in legend, including tales of divine ancestry, a progenitor as a grey wolf, and auspicious signs, but his childhood was destabilized early. When he was about 9, his father was poisoned by Tatars, leaving the family abandoned and vulnerable. Temüjin's clan rejected them, and he endured poverty, internal family tension, including the killing of his half-brother to secure his position, and captivity, conditions that forged both his resilience and ruthless streak. These early experiences, recorded in sources like The Secret History of the Mongols and corroborated by modern scholars, laid the psychological groundwork for his later unification campaigns. His childhood also involved forming and breaking alliances, practicing the steppe institution of sworn blood brotherhoods, and learning to navigate rival tribal politics. He married Borte from the Okanut tribe, a union that would have both personal and political consequences, especially when she was kidnapped and later recovered, catalyzing alliances and enmities that shaped Temüjin's early consolidation of followers. 3. Rise to power and unification, 1189 to 1206. Temüjin's ascent was gradual but marked by strategic acumen, personal loyalty building, and calculated brutality. He gathered supporters by rewarding merit over aristocratic birth, integrating captives into his forces, and breaking traditional tribal hierarchies. He defeated rival chieftains through a combination of battlefield innovation, political marriage, and ruthlessness toward enemies and disloyal subordinates. Notably, his inclusive promotion system, favoring competence and loyalty, undermined the old Mongol aristocratic order, which he replaced with a new elite tied to him personally. In 1206, after decades of internecine conflict, Temüjin convened a Kurultai, a tribal assembly, of the unified Mongol tribes, where he was proclaimed Genghis Khan, often translated as universal ruler or oceanic ruler. This moment marked the formal birth of the Mongol Empire, no longer a loose confederation of tribes but a centralized polity under his supreme authority. He codified customary laws and established institutions such as the Yasa, his secret code, partially known through scattered references, which combined legal, military, and administrative decrees to bind diverse peoples under a common framework. 4. Organizational innovations and governance. Genghis Khan's genius was not only martial, he rebuilt Mongol society into a disciplined, mobile military administrative machine. He reorganized the army into decimal units, arbans, 10, zuns, 100, minghans, 1,000, and tumans, 10,000. Which replaced tribal loyalties with direct hierarchical command, increasing flexibility and control. This structure allowed rapid mobilization and precise tactical coordination, including rigorous communication via mounted couriers and relay stations. He also institutionalized meritocracy, to an extent, religious tolerance, and a system of tribute and administration for conquered territories. Local elites were sometimes co-opted rather than immediately replaced. In other cases, ruthless decapitation of resistance was used as a deterrent. Intelligence gathering, psychological warfare, and the deliberate cultivating of fear were tools he wielded alongside incentives for trade, which later contributed to the relative stability of the Pax Mongolica. 5. Early campaigns, China and the Tangaxia states, 1207 to 1215. Shortly after becoming Genghis Khan, he turned his attention to northern China, particularly the Jurchen Jin dynasty and the Tangut, Western Xia, kingdom. The Mongols first attacked the Tangut in 1207, forcing them into vassalage and extracting tribute. This campaign served as both a proving ground for Mongol military methods and a revenue source. In 1211, he launched a major offensive against the Jin dynasty, whose fortified cities and heavy cavalry were initially unfamiliar to the steppe warriors. Through a mix of feigned retreats, superior mobility, and ruthless sieges, the Mongols broke Jin resistance, eventually sacking Zhongdu, modern Beijing, in 1215. These campaigns demonstrated adaptability. The Mongols incorporated engineers, often from conquered Chinese and Muslim regions, to improve siege warfare capabilities. 6. Westward expansion, Khwarezmian Empire and beyond, 1218 to 1223. The next major phase unfolded to the west. In 1218, Genghis Khan sent a trade caravan and envoys to the Khwarezmian Shah, Muhammad II, seeking peaceful relations. The Shah's execution of the envoys and seizure of their goods provoked a massive retaliatory campaign. The 1219 to 1221 invasion of the Khwarezmian Empire was swift and devastating. Mongol armies destroyed a chain of cities across Central Asia, Bokhara, Samarkand, and others, using terror as a strategic weapon. The Shah fled, and the empire collapsed, with Mongol detachments pushing into the Caucasus and the outskirts of Kievan Rus. A notable earlier probing offensive reached the fringes of Eastern Europe in 1223, where the Mongol forces, after defeating a coalition led by the Cumans and the Russians at the Battle of the Kalka River, withdrew, partly because the main army had not yet been mobilized for further European conquest, and also due to internal priorities. 7. Campaigns in Central Asia and the Western Xia's final destruction, 1220 to 1227. During the sweep across Central Asia, second-tier Mongol leadership, acting with delegated autonomy, employed methods of systematic slaughter for resistance and assimilation where useful for logistics or future control. The destruction of the Khwarezmian state demonstrated Mongol intolerance for failure to submit, but also their capacity to govern vast multi-ethnic territories by installing garrisons, using local intermediaries, and securing trade routes. Afterward, Genghis Khan turned back to the Western Xia, whose ruler had vacillated in loyalty. Convinced of their unreliability, he launched a final campaign that culminated in the near-total destruction of the kingdom, with cities razed and population decimated prior to his death. 8. Military doctrine and psychological warfare. The Mongol military under Genghis Khan combined mobility, intelligence, and calculated brutality. Units rehearsed feigned retreats, used signaling for coordination, maintained rigorous discipline, with harsh punishments for desertion or cowardice, and valued flexibility over sheer numbers. Scouts and spies provided detailed enemy information, captives were interrogated, and news of the fate of resistors spread rapidly as both warning and psychological leverage. These methods allowed smaller Mongol forces to rout larger armies. Furthermore, Genghis Khan adapted technologies from conquered peoples, siege engineers from China and Persia, administrative methods from sedentary cultures, and methods of incorporating specialists, e.g., artisans, translators, into the structure of the expanding empire. 9. Administration, law, and the empire's integration. Though often remembered for conquest, Genghis Khan laid administrative foundations that enabled the empire's endurance beyond his death. His yasa was not a single published code but a set of decrees covering military discipline, tax obligations, theft, family law, and protocols of governance, designed to unify disparate cultures and ensure loyalty. Religious freedom was promulgated, priests and clerics of many faiths were exempted from taxation, and the Mongol court employed multi-ethnic administrators. Trade was encouraged through the protection of the Silk Road, safe conduct for merchants, and the relay system, YAM, for official communications, which facilitated both economic integration and centralized control. 10. Succession preparations and family politics. Genghis Khan deliberately prepared a succession among his sons, notably Ogedei, as his heir, while balancing rivalries. He distributed apanages, territorial grants, and kept key family members close, yet he also used marriage alliances and adoption of capable non-relatives into his inner circle to stabilize transitions. The Borjigin lineage remained central, and after his death the empire was divided among his sons and grandsons, but a central khanate under Yesügei ensured continuity. 11. Death and the mystery of the burial, 1227. Genghis Khan died in 1227 during the campaign against the Western Xiao. The precise cause is contested. Some accounts suggest he fell from a horse, others that he succumbed to illness or wounds. Most historians accept the date as August 18, 1227, but acknowledge the scarcity of contemporaneous documentation on the circumstances. His burial site was kept secret in accordance with Mongol custom, and legend holds that those involved in the burial were killed to preserve the secrecy. Although modern fact-checkers caution that tales of mass executions post-funeral are likely exaggerated or mythologized, with limited reliable evidence for the scale often claimed. The search for his tomb remains an enduring mystery, despite various archaeological efforts and hypotheses, some tied to sites like Tavan Tolgoi. No universally accepted location has been confirmed, in part due to the deliberate erasure and myth-making around his interment. 12. Immediate aftermath and consolidation. After his death, the empire did not fracture immediately. Yesügei was proclaimed Great Khan in 1229, and the momentum of expansion continued, especially into Eastern Europe and the Middle East. Structures that Genghis had placed, military hierarchy, the communication yam, the legal framework, and the imperial ideology, enabled his successors to operate on a vast scale. However, centrifugal pressures from uppunage politics and the enormous geographic span would, over generations, produce divisions among the khanates. 13. Legacy, destruction, exchange, and memory. The legacy of Genghis Khan is paradoxical. Traditional accounts, especially from conquered or neighboring sedentary civilizations, portray him as a destroyer, cities razed, populations massacred, and cultural trauma inflicted across Asia and parts of Europe. Yet modern scholarship has nuanced this image, emphasizing his role as a state builder, facilitator of cross-Eurasian trade and exchange, the so-called Pax Mongolica, promoter of religious tolerance, and a force that reshaped geopolitical boundaries and cultural interactions. His legal reforms, systematized communication networks, and meritocratic elements influenced successor regimes. Genetic studies have also highlighted his demographic footprint. A controversial but widely cited study suggests that a Y chromosome lineage descending from a common ancestor in the Mongolian steppes, dating roughly to his era, is present in a significant number of men across Central Asia. A possible reflection of Genghis Khan's prolific progeny and the social structure privileging his male line, though interpretations vary and the link is probabilistic. Culturally, in Mongolia today, he is honored as a unifier and national founder figure, with monumental commemorations such as the massive equestrian statue complex outside Ulaanbaatar, illustrating how memory has been reclaimed and reinterpreted. 14. Historiographical shifts. Historians have grappled with the duality of his reputation. Early Western and Islamic chroniclers, often writing from trauma or cultural distance, emphasized violence, while some modern historians seek to contextualize Mongol methods within their era's norms and stress administrative sophistication and unintended consequences such as increased connectivity, transmission of ideas, and even ecological impacts through depopulation. This evolving scholarship encourages a more balanced and complex understanding of Genghis Khan not merely as a savage conqueror nor an unblemished state founder, but as a transformational figure whose actions had cascading, multi-generational effects. 15. Conclusion. Genghis Khan's life was a crucible of hardship, ambition, innovation, and conquest. He fused steppe mobility with institutional control, terror with incentives, and myth with pragmatic governance to create an empire of unprecedented scale. His death wrapped in secrecy, his succession carefully managed, and his memory both vilified and lionized, he remains one of the most consequential figures in global history. His impact, whether in the militarization of Eurasia, the opening and protection of trade routes, the blending of cultures under a loose imperial umbrella, or the genetic echoes in populations, endures as a testament to the complex power of empire founded in the storm of the Mongolian steppes.